So, what would actually happen if you fell into a black hole? Well, you wouldn't just simply disappear. From your perspective, something much, much stranger would happen. Welcome to this explainer, where we're taking a wild journey right into the absolute most extreme environments in the entire universe. I want you to picture this for a second. You are slowly drifting toward a massive, completely inescapable abyss out in space. You can literally feel the gravity getting stronger. Your friends are watching from a safe distance afar. So what exactly happens next? Well, first off, bro really chose the worst possible place to take a vacation. I mean, literally anywhere else would have been better. But before we get into the absolutely terrifying reality of your cosmic trip, we kind of need to understand what it is you're actually falling into. Okay, section 1, the ultimate cosmic vacuum. What exactly is a black hole? To really wrap your head around this, just imagine placing a super heavy bowling ball on a tightly stretched bedsheet. You know how the sheet sinks way down in the middle? Now, imagine something so incredibly massive that it creates an extreme, totally bottomless depression in the very fabric of space-time itself. That is a black hole. But we actually need to bust a major myth here right off the bat. Black holes are not literal cosmic vacuum cleaners. They aren't just swimming around the galaxy aggressively sucking things up. In fact, if you magically replaced our sun with a black hole of the exact same mass, the planets would literally just stay right in their normal orbits, because from far enough away, their gravity acts just like any other object. So how in the world is such an extreme object born in the first place? Well, it usually starts with a really massive star. When that star finally runs out of its nuclear fuel, gravity ultimately wins the internal battle. The compact iron core suddenly collapses in on itself, the outer layers violently explode outward in a massive supernova, and what's left behind is crushed into an unimaginably dense point. Boom, a black hole is born. Moving on to section 2, the point of no return, approaching the event horizon. Now, the event horizon isn't an actual physical surface like the ground here on Earth. It's really just an invisible boundary in space. And let me tell you, crossing it comes with some incredibly extreme terms and conditions. Because once you cross that invisible line, turning around and going home becomes absolutely impossible. But why is it impossible? It all comes down to something called escape velocity, which is basically just the speed you need to go to break free from a planet or star's gravity. Here on Earth, you have to hit about 11 kilometers per second to escape. But for a black hole, the gravity is so intense there that the escape velocity is actually greater than the speed of light. And since absolutely nothing carrying information can travel faster than light, nothing, and I mean nothing, can escape its grip. All right, section 3, welcome to Spaghettification, the human experience of falling. Think about it. If you fell in feet first, the gravity pulling down on your feet would be significantly stronger than the gravity pulling on your head. Astrophysicists actually use a real scientific term for this. It's called spaghettification. Essentially, your body gets squeezed horizontally and stretched vertically. It's kind of like pulling a piece of raw dough until it gets thinner and thinner. Yep, humanity spent millions and millions of years evolving into highly complex biological beings just for gravity to turn you into cosmic pasta. It's a pretty grim fate for sure, but it's also an absolutely fascinating consequence of extreme physics. Which brings us to section 4, warped time and light, relativity in action. Because of a phenomenon known as gravitational time dilation, a really wild difference in perspective happens as you fall. If your friend was watching you from a safe distance, they wouldn't actually see you vanish. As you get closer to the horizon, the light bouncing off you takes longer and longer to fight its way out and reach them. So to your friend, you'd appear to slow down dramatically and eventually just freeze in place. But to you, you'd experience time passing completely normally. It's totally mind-bending, but it's a proven illusion born from Einstein's relativity, not the black hole just magically turning time off. And as for what you'd see? Oh, man, it would be the ultimate light show. The black hole's intense gravity literally bends light around it, an effect called gravitational lensing. You'd see this glowing, superheated accretion disk bending over and under a central shadow, and all the background stars would be warped and stretched into bizarre funhouse mirror shapes. Which naturally leads us to the ultimate million-dollar question. What is actually inside a black hole? Once you pass the event horizon, where does all of that matter physically go? Section 5. Are black holes portals? Hollywood myths versus actual physics. Hollywood loves to scream portal, while physicists are basically begging us to please calm down.
deep at the center lies what we call the singularity. It's a point where matter is crushed to an infinitely small density, and where our current theories of physics and quantum mechanics completely break down. We just don't have the math for it yet. And while wormholes are definitely a fun theoretical and mathematical idea, there is absolutely zero scientific evidence that black holes are portals to other dimensions. You wouldn't magically pop out in another galaxy. Unfortunately, you would just be crushed.
And the wild thing is, despite all of our incredible cutting-edge technology, we can detect these things from billions of light years away. We can measure exactly how they yank stars around, and we can even image their dark shadows using networks of global telescopes. We still, to this day, cannot see a single thing past that invisible boundary. The event horizon perfectly keeps the interior a locked-away secret. And honestly, that might just be the most terrifying thing about black holes. Not what we already know about them, but what we don't. Physics has a hard limit, and the event horizon is exactly where we hit that wall. So, knowing all of this, the intense time dilation, the crazy warped light, and, the very real threat of turning into human spaghetti, if you had an indestructible, magical spacesuit and could safely visit a black hole for exactly 10 seconds, would you actually do it? Drop your answers down in the comments below. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep looking up.